Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. My name is Jillian Conley, and I am excited to be on here with you today. Just making sure all my screens are up so we can get started in learning today. It's going to be a really good lesson today. We're talking about integrated marketing and what that means and why you need to be doing that, especially as you're creating your plan for 2026. And so you're not going to want to miss today's talk. So hopefully you have a minute to hop on with me. I'm so excited to get started. For anyone getting on a little bit late with us, my name is Jillian Conley. I'm the Vice President of Marketing Communications and Strategies for the CEO Woman. And today I want to share a little bit about my 8-week marketing accelerator program that we are launching in January and only have a couple of seats left for you to potentially take over. So, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through what an integrated marketing plan is, why it matters. And then I want to talk to you about the 8 core areas of your marketing that need to be addressed and defined year over year and then implemented in order for you to have a strong foundation of marketing that allows your organic audience to grow so that you're not having to spend all your money on advertising and so on. So we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm excited. I see that we're having a little bit of tech issue on social, so I'm just giving it a quick minute to catch up and we'll go ahead and get started. So um, first, I want you to think a little bit about integrated marketing and your own marketing and see if this aligns or if you're doing something very different, but it works for you. And so an integrated marketing strategy is one that takes in consideration that you have more than 5 generations that you're potentially communicating to in your audience. And that means they need to be communicated to in different ways because of how they discover information is different. So, for example, having all digital means you're missing print opportunity. Having all print means you're missing digital opportunity. Having all in person but nothing online or nothing printed to give to people means you're missing as well opportunity. So, how do you take all of these various areas and pull them together strategically in order to make yourself a plan that will move your business forward in a way that is sustainable? Because you could be trendy and you can go viral and all of that, but that's not sustainable success. We want to talk about sustainability in your marketing. So, why integrated marketing planning? Right? That's probably the first question that we all might have. Why is that important? So, the core concept behind having an integrated marketing strategy is that it allows your marketing plan to connect your vision to your audience to your offers to your content, and your content to your numbers. So it's like creating a framework that pathway like pulls people forward. And so random posts don't build revenue. Integrated marketing is the plan where you strategically determine what communications are going out digitally and in print and in person, and then make sure it all aligns cohesively. Now, most women that I talk to are doing marketing tasks, but they are not actually running a marketing system. And I like to kind of explain the difference between the two as one is like checklisting, getting stuff done, and the other one is actually creating something sustainable that will work for you while you sleep. And an integrated marketing plan is one of those things that will work for you while you sleep. Not every part has to be touched all the time, but it'll still prosper for you. So when you're thinking about what questions to ask yourself around your integrated marketing plan, you want to think about where are you going? Who are you talking to? Who your audience is? And what are you saying your offer is going to be over the next X amount of days? Maybe it's 30, 60, 90 days. Maybe it's all year long. Maybe it's your low ticket offer, or maybe it's a high ticket offer and it's seasonal. Today, we're going to walk through those 8 building blocks that we like to use when creating marketing plans. And by the end, you'll leave understanding a little bit more about what your plan needs to have inside of it so that you can answer these questions: the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your marketing, gain that clarity, and move forward with intention. And so we'll talk briefly about this. And then if it gets to a place where you feel like, man, I really love this, but I would like some hand holding, we are offering an 8-week accelerator program. And I'll tell you more about that at the end. So let's think about the first week. We're going to talk about mission, vision, and values. And so I like to share mission, vision, and values as it being the place where you're going as a business and how you serve now as a business, what the rules are for you to say yes and no and set boundaries. And then the post that you create then come around more of a focused foundation. So, for example, I like to teach it as a GPS. So, your vision is your end destination. It's like if you were to plug into your GPS your actual ending address, that's what your vision is. Your vision is where you're gonna go in the next 3 to 5 years. Your mission is the route you take. So some routes have tolls, some are back roads, some are faster, some are slower. But whatever mission you choose to get you to that vision is all about how you're going to serve. It's how you're going to get there. And your values are kind of like guardrails, if you will. They're the thing that tells you what exits to get off of or not get off of that are safe and useful and resourceful and are going to move you forward, or unsafe, not useful, and not resourceful that are going to make you get stuck or confused or make you spiral. And these 3 components of your brand should not change every year, but they should evolve every year. There should be new information that leads you to more clarity year over year as you are reaching out to that end destination for your vision. And so let's say you're a branding photographer. Maybe your vision is um, you want to be the go-to brand photographer for CEO women on the East Coast. And your mission could be helping women-led brands show up confidently and consistently online. And the values that you can have are like clarity, collaboration, respect for people's time, right? And when you have an opportunity that pops up that doesn't align, like maybe it's off vision or off brand, it makes decision making so much easier because you know that your value systems are clarity, collaboration, and respect for people's time. It may be the person who wants to hire you is not good with their time, right? So it's not going to be a good contract for you because if they're bad with their time and time is a value system for you and your company, then they're going to put you in a state where you won't perform at your best. So keeping in mind the value of what you're creating and outlining is not just to be the business that has the words or the sentences, but truly it's to be able to capture and understand the voice and tone of who you are as a business and how you're going to show up consistently. If you put your vision into one sentence, could you do it without rambling? So, if your current elevator pitch or vision statement is so complicated that you couldn't just tell me what your vision is, it's definitely time for you to rework it. Um, in the first week, we'll go through all of this for the accelerator, but we'll actually map it all out. So we're going to get very clear about what your keywords are, right? Very clear about your audience. And then we're going to map out your mission, your vision, your core values, your areas of focus, and your descriptions for your brand to ensure that in 2026, your marketing has very clear and concise language that converts. In week 2, we're going to talk about ideal client profiles so that you know exactly who you serve. And this is extremely important. You may have an ideal client avatar that was created when you first started your company, but let's say it's been a few years or a global pandemic hit right in the middle of your business. Your ideal customer avatar may not be the same person anymore. And in fact, you should consider reevaluating your ideal customer avatar annually. Um, you do not market to everyone who you market to someone specific. So let's say um, you want to make sure that you know who your ideal client, like how at a minimum you want to define them as like what is their role, what's their stage in life or their stage in business, what's their main problem, their desired outcome, their buying capacity or buying power. And if you can sit and take the time to digest who your ideal customer avatar is, you'll have one really clear audience, which will be way better than 10 vague audiences. So, really honing in the gender, the age, the hobbies, the interests, the psychographics, the demographics, getting very, very clear. So, for example, instead of women who need bookkeeping, maybe you could try service-based women. Let's see, service-based women CEOs doing 150 to 500,000 who are tired of guessing if they're profitable, and want clean numbers they can trust. So now your marketing says, um, you're making money, but you're not sure where it goes. So feel seen, basically. So it gives you a pre-qualifying statement between its female CEOs between 150 and 500,000. They're tired of pain point, and they want to be a solution, and you get to be that solution that brings them through. Now, when you know who you're talking to, the next step is mapping out how that person moves from stranger to client, and that's what we'll be doing in week 3 of our accelerator program. So we're going to be mapping out the journey and objections that might come in your specific industry, which is going to be great. So you're going to want to remove all the roadblocks so interested buyers can move forward. We want to make sure you're talking to the right people, but also giving you the framework that you need in order to have the journey mapped out. A simple journey framework for your client base can look like awareness into interest, into consideration, into decision making. So at each step, there is a 2 to 3 main objectives. So your your or 2 or 3 main objections, not objectives, objections that you may come across, and it typically wraps around time, money, trust, or timing. Like, is it the right time for me, or I don't have time to do it? Those are 2 different types of time constraint problems. And then, is this for me? The question of whether or not whatever they're looking at is the right fit for them. Your content and your offers should also answer those objections before the sales call. So you can get ahead of them. If you know what your common objections are going to be and you know what you're going to say to those objections because you've heard them more than, once, twice, thrice, then you're able to overcome in such a powerful way that you can move them into a decision-making mode versus the indecisive mode of ambiguity and vagueness. So, for example, if your client's big objection is, I've tried programs that didn't work, your content might include case studies with before and afters, behind the scenes of the process, and guarantees or clear expectations. So that way, by the time you're talking with the person, the potential client, she's not asking, does this work? She's asking, when can I start? Right. So having um, a simple journey, awareness, interest, consideration to decision, and then making sure that you're mindful of those potential objections around time, money, trust, timing, and is it for me? And mapping this out for your business can have have a huge impact because instead of fumbling over your words and fumbling clients essentially just because you're not prepared for the potential pushback that might happen, you're actually able to not only get ahead of it, but you're able to pre-qualify your audience even better because your self-awareness of both you as the salesperson for your business, but your self-awareness as you as a business go way up. It's like high EQ for your business when you start practicing frameworks like this, respecting what they tell you and then shifting accordingly. Now, think let's see. If you uh think of my notes say to think of one offer you currently sell. What is the number one reason people hesitate? That belongs in your marketing plan. So if you can say, oh, it's indefinitely, it's always time. They don't know if they have time to meet every week or month or however frequently your program needs, or they don't have money to invest in that program. You want to be able to overcome those objections. And if you can think of your top main one and come up with a thoughtful way to overcome it. For example, one of the things that we've heard for the business school is, it's money. It tends to be a pretty big one, money and time. And they get nervous on whether or not they can afford, like, are they making enough money to afford the business school? But the messaging that we use and what we know to be true are like our philosophy and how we work is that we will help you find that money and the rest of it because the whole point of being in the business school is to get to a place where your business's foundations are built out and you're in a place where you're sustained so that you can then scale and grow. And so having these things mapped out and knowing how to rebuttal them helps empower you in your conversation. Now, in our 8-week workshop, week 4, we're going to be doing some really clear prompting around messaging and getting very, very, very clear. One clear promise with proof. And this is huge because everyone needs that like before and after kind of energy. So, talking about your messaging as like a home, if you will. So, your messaging is the house and your roof and the pillars and the foundation all need to be established. So your pillars, your roof is like your one core promise. Your pillars are like your 3 or 4 proof points. They're like how you deliver and why it works. And then your foundation is your values and your philosophies. So this becomes your copy source for website, social, emails, talks, all of that. So let's go back to our bookkeeper example. If you're talking about the roof, which is the core promise, I give women CEOs clarity and control over their numbers. And then the pillars might be clean books within 90 days, monthly CEO financial review, and simple visual dashboard. Foundation would be no shame, no jargon, just the real numbers. And by remember that the foundation is about your values and your philosophy as a business. So when you have a strong message house, talking about what you do gets a lot easier. And so we'll be doing that in week 4. In week 5, we'll be talking and writing out elevator pitches. Again, very important skill set to have. You should have multiple elevator pitches, one for all the different audiences, one for the different programs, one for the whole company, one for an ask, one for an invite. You should be able to speak in as an extension of your brand, but in multiple ways about your company. And so an elevator pitch is something that explains what you do in 5 to 60 seconds. And it should be something that you can memorize. So you need 3 versions for sure. And then we will write 3 versions in week 5. You want a 5 second, a 20 second, and a 60 second. So the 5 second is I help who get what results, right? Very basic. 20 seconds is how they do that. So I help who get what results, how, what's the how. And then the longer one is you would add the example. And so we're going to talk about building a robust elevator pitch with those different layers so that you're able to speak intelligently, quickly, concisely about your company, and add some examples of short, like how can we do a 5 second, 20 second, 60 second elevator pitch? I'll give you these ones. So the 5 second one, I help women business owners build marketing plans that actively drive revenue. Very simple, very clear, very concise. It says, I help, who I help, and what the result's going to be. Then the second one is going to still say the same thing, but we're going to add the house. So the 22nd one is I help women CEOs build integrated marketing plans. So every post, email, and offer points to clear revenue goals instead of random activity. Not quite 20 seconds, that's okay. The concept behind it though is that you're clearly and concisely communicating what you need to communicate. And then the longer format one, which is the I help who get results with the how, and then we're going to give the example. So for 60 second or just like the longer version. For example, I work with a designer who was posting daily with no traction. Once we clarified her ideal client and offers, we built a 6-day plan that doubled her consult calls. So you'll see how it just starts with very, very basic, gets a little bit more robust, but then like gives the example. This is 3 different types of elevator pitches, but all for the same thing. So we will be working on those elevator pitches in week 5. And then let me refresh my screen for a second too, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Um, awesome. And then week 6, we're going to be doing offers and positioning, which is where you make your services easier to understand and then compare. So if buyers are confused, they won't buy, they'll stall out. So we want to know who each offers for, what problem each offer solves, what's included in each offer, and price or payment options, the good, better, best hierarchy, or if you do like a start, core, premium, or whatever, just whatever the hierarchy is. And then positioning is how your offer sits in someone's mind, your ideal client's mind, versus the DIY option or the cheaper options or doing nothing options. So, for example, let's say, um, let's talk about, let's say, designer. So, brand intensive starter kit. Let's pretend like that's the name of it. It's a 1-day strategy plus brand refresh. And then there's brand plus website core. So second tier, complete visual system with 5-page website. Then there's the retainer premium, which is the third tier, and that's ongoing design support. Now, the person on the receiving end will have an idea of which offer is the right fit for them and where that client needs to go. And because you have different offers that are tiered like this, you're able to target them to different ideal customer avatars, which is the lesson we'll learn a couple weeks before then. So when your offers are clear, your content can finally connect to something solid, which will invite those people into your brand in a more intentional way, defining who the offer is, what the problem it solves, what's included, the price point, the hierarchy, all of that. And then in week 7, we're going to talk about content visibility, which is going to be really great. So we're going to give you a 30-day plan where your job is to make sure your posts, your platform, everything is optimized and performing at its best, but we're going to jumpstart them all. So you're going to pick in week 7, 2 to 3 main platforms where your ideal clients actually hang out. So we're going to talk about all the different options that are out there, not all of them, but the main ones, and whether or not they're a good fit. Then we're going to establish your 3 to 5 content pillars. So what example, maybe it's authority or education, maybe it's behind the scenes. content pillars can be client stories or direct offers, but it's important to understand what your content pillars are going to be in order to write and map out your strategy holistically for your content. And then every piece of content should have some kind of call to action, even if it's a micro call to action. So we're going to learn about this. We're going to talk about how to save it, how to comment, or use different call to actions like save this, comment with, a heart emoji, click the book now call button, join our email list, or maybe it's share with a friend or like, we're going to talk about micro call to actions to help improve content visibility. And then we're going to work through a 30-day structure of awareness, storytelling, objection handling, and strong invitations. And so that week 7 is going to be really, really vital to your overall annual plan because we will teach you how to write and establish meaningful content for your social channels all year long. And then the week 8 is the go to market to one-on-one support. So um, this is where we talk about taking your offer and going to the market, setting a date, deciding how long you'll talk about it. Is it a 4-week push, an 8-week push, an 8-month push? We'll define the start and end dates of your campaign. We'll define your primary offer and that price. We'll define your platforms and the frequency in which you're going to post about these promos. And then the metrics will define as well so that you know what to be looking for. There are vanity metrics, which people like because it makes you look good. But what we want to see are the simple metrics that are going to give us information about your audience or your overall marketing in order to move all of that forward holistically into conversions. We're also going to look and assess here what worked, what doesn't work. We want to make sure we're always adjusting. We're staying open and curious about the content that you're developing for your channels to see where your audience leads. And then we'll also talk about implementation and tracking, how to start your content, how to choose the focus, how to build versions of everything that you're building, like the one sentence version, the main content piece, the 3 objections, the messaging house, the elevator pitch. All of that will go into the building the light version of each piece, like into the implementation piece, and then tracking and adjusting. We're going to talk about what was posted, what was the response, how did people fall off, were people interested, was there a decision that got made, and then what adjustments can we make for the following week. The nice thing about going through and doing your marketing for the year is it takes the day-to-day pressure off of your thinking and allows you to get into the creative because you put a system into place that takes all your foundational marketing and puts it together. But if you're trying to do this piece by piece on your own for your business, your podcast, your book sales, whatever it is, and you're not gaining traction, there's a chance that you're missing stuff, that you're missing the core foundational pieces of your marketing or are lacking clarity. And our 8-week accelerator program, it's really there to help you do that. The sessions are going to be so great. Do we will do it where you come in and you'll have an opportunity to meet with your other classmates. And then we will go through, I was going to look at um, I have a framework for, we're going to go through and we'll do like a check-in, little meet and greet in the beginning and a check-in, and then I'm going to teach you what you need to learn for that session, and then the rest of that 90-minute weekly time is going to be for implementation. So you'll be able to ask me questions. We're going to go through your marketing one-on-one. you will get all the focus and attention that you need, but also in a small group setting. And then we will also then branch out and move into uh, one-on-one groups to help each other, encouraging one another with um, our plans and what we're writing for and so on. So if it sounds like something you want to do, I encourage you to check out our website and visit us online at the CEO .com, or I will put the link in the chat for you as well. Let me put that here. Um, in the chat if you want to sign up. Space is limited. We only have a couple more seats available. We want to keep it small and intimate. So I highly encourage you to come and join us. If you feel like any of this is something you want to do and you need some support, reach out. I'd love to help you. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope this was beneficial to you, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.